My name is Ruth. I'm 75 years old, and that's not as old as it sounds, at least not to me. The women in my family live long, not always happily, but stubbornly. I suppose I've inherited that too, the capacity to hold on, sometimes past the point of comfort. I was born in 1949, the only child of a machinist and a Sunday school teacher in a quiet neighborhood outside of Cleveland. I learned early how to keep a home together, how to scrub a floor on your knees and wipe your hands before you touched your face. My mother said a woman's house was her measure. I'm not sure if I agree, but I lived by it all the same. I married David when I was 21. He was a kind man, solid, with a laugh like warm bread and a talent for fixing whatever he touched. We bought a small house on Elm Street, just 3 rooms at first, and a shed out back for the tools he collected like lost kittens. We lived with just enough. I worked in the city, first as a typist, then as a school secretary. I brought home leftovers, coupons, and the quiet pride of a balanced checkbook. Maggie was born 3 years after we married. She was a colicky baby, always crying, her fists tight in the air as if she was already fighting the world. I loved her fiercely, even when I was exhausted, even when she grew up and pulled away from me, the way daughters sometimes do. Our home was clean, our meals on time, our holidays decorated, nothing fancy, just right. That was what I knew, reliability, even if nobody noticed. David passed away in the spring of 2009. The day after the funeral, I opened every window in the house and let the April air sweep through, carrying away the scent of lilies and sadness. Maggie and Ben helped, but mostly they stood back, as if grief was contagious. Maggie married Ben when she was 24. He worked in insurance, always polite, always careful with words. I didn't dislike him, but he made me nervous. There was a distance in him, a door closed, even when he was right in front of you. But he was good to Maggie, and that mattered most. They rented for years, a small 2-bedroom near the interstate. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, Maggie sighed about the rent, about how they'd never get ahead. When Ben lost his job in 2012, things got tighter. I started bringing extra groceries, ground beef, pasta, the kinds of food you can stretch for days. I paid their gas bill once, then again, then made it a habit quietly, so they wouldn't have to ask. Then, one day, Maggie called me. She sounded thin, like a voice worn out from use. Mom, there's a house. It's not perfect, but it's ours if we can make the down payment. We just can't, not alone. But if you... I didn't hesitate. I'd always been practical, and I knew what mattered. Roots, stability, a home. I sold David's car, the last of his stocks, and I drained most of the savings we'd meant for some day. I wanted them to have what we'd had, a door they could close, a table they could claim as their own. The papers were drawn up. My name was there, next to theirs. Just a formality, Ben said. Of course you're family. The notary smiled. Maggie squeezed my hand. I signed. After that, it was all about the house, repairs, painting, scrubbing out old smells from the cabinets, tearing up carpet, patching walls. I helped pay for a new furnace. When a pipe burst that first winter, I wrote the check. Ben thanked me with his careful smile. Maggie hugged me. Her hair still smelled like the chamomile shampoo I used on her when she was 5. Once they moved in, I never intruded. That's important to say. I never showed up unannounced. But Maggie gave me a key, pressed it into my palm, said, "You're part of this, Mom. Come anytime." So I did. On Sundays, I'd come early, set a casserole in the oven, change out the flowers on the dining table, open the blinds to let in the morning sun. Sometimes I'd pick up groceries, fill the fruit bowl, leave a note, "Love you, call me." I paid the light bill every month. Maggie would text me if the Wi-Fi went down. or if they needed help with the kids after school. I liked being useful. I liked feeling needed, even if only in small ways. It wasn't much, but it was something, a rhythm, a place in their lives. I kept my own apartment, my own routines, but on Sundays, I was part of their home. I tried not to expect too much. Life teaches you not to expect too much. That's who I am. That's what I was. Not the center, but a supporting beam. Quiet, reliable, holding things up where nobody could see. Sunday morning is my small ritual, a practice I don't announce or apologize for. I wake at 6, even now, even in winter, when the streets are all frost and breath is smoke on the glass. My bones ache more than they used to, but I move slowly, carefully, so nothing breaks, least of all the quiet I have grown to rely on. I pull on my old cardigan, the one Maggie gave me a Christmas long past, and check my reflection. Hair in place, lips not too pale, eyes not too red. Dignity matters, even for errands no one else will see. I collect my purse, the shopping bag with apples and carrots, a bottle of olive oil that was on sale. I glance at the bouquet I bought yesterday, yellow tulips for the dining table. The keys jangle in my hand, a small, comforting weight. The streets are empty as I walk the 2 blocks to Maggie's. I know every crack in the sidewalk, the house with the drooping mailbox, the yard where a dog sometimes barks at my heels. The morning sun is thin, barely more than a suggestion on the rooftops. I like the world at this hour, still private, before everyone else's needs fill the day. Their street is quiet. I pass the hedge I helped plant last summer, the mailbox still crooked, meaning to fix it someday. I pause at the front steps, balancing my shopping bag, and reach into my pocket for the key. The door is blue, the paint a little chipped from the last winter storm. I run my hand along the frame, the way I always do, a private greeting, a habit from old houses. I put the key in the lock, expecting the familiar soft click, but the key jams. I turn it again, gently, then with more pressure, but the metal won't budge. I take it out, examine it. No damage, no bend. I try again. It catches and stops, as if the lock has suddenly remembered it owes me nothing. For a moment, I just stand there, confused. I try to recall. Did I take the wrong key? Did they mention something? No, Maggie would have told me. I would have remembered. A cold ache spreads across my chest, the kind that has nothing to do with age. I ring the bell, feeling suddenly clumsy, outsiderish. There's a pause. No footsteps, no hurried approach. I hear a TV in the background, a kettle whistling. I ring again. Finally, the curtains twitch in the living room window. Maggie answers the door. She's in her robe, hair in a messy knot, phone pressed to her ear. She looks surprised, then awkward, and for an instant, I see the little girl who used to dart into my bed after a nightmare. She lowers the phone. Mom, you're early. Is everything all right? I hold up my key, as if it explains everything. The key doesn't work. Behind her, Ben appears, half dressed, coffee mug in hand, glancing past her to me. The kids are in the background. Voices, laughter, the unmistakable crash of something falling off a table. Maggie gives a small, embarrassed laugh, and her voice is careful, too bright. Oh, the lock. We changed it last week. She glances at Ben, who shrugs and sips his coffee. I blink. Why didn't you tell me? She bites her lip, shifting her weight. Well, the kids keep losing things. Ben thought, we thought maybe, for safety, you know? It's not against you, Mom. Honestly. Ben steps forward, trying to soften it. We had a guy come out to fix the back door anyway. Thought we'd update everything at once. I nod, slow and quiet, the groceries suddenly heavy in my hand. I see. Maggie hesitates. Do you want to come in? I can get you some coffee. But I step back, suddenly aware of my shoes on their new rug, the shopping bag crinkling like a question no one asked. No, it's all right. I just, I just came by early. I'll come back later. The words hang between us, clumsy, incomplete. Maggie's smile is brittle. Okay, Mom, just text next time so I know when you're coming. I nod again, step away, the cold pressing at my back. The tulips bump against my side, silent witnesses. The door closes behind me, quiet but certain. Not a slam, not a rebuke, just a gentle click. Final, efficient, ordinary. I walk home slower than I came, my mind circling itself. I think about the lock, the key, the unspoken words. I wonder if this is how it starts, your world shrinking, your usefulness replaced by caution. And I wonder if, deep down, I always knew it would happen. The walk back to my apartment is only 2 blocks, but this morning it feels different. Each step measured, the city unfamiliar, as if I have been unmoored from some invisible anchor. The shopping bag is heavier than it was an hour ago, the tulips bright against the gray sidewalk, the apples rolling restlessly inside their plastic nest. I keep my head down, counting cracks in the pavement, pretending that I am just an ordinary woman with ordinary errands. My feet know the route by heart, but today my mind is a river of small memories, each one bumping against the next. I remember the first day Maggie got her own house key. A pink plastic rectangle, her name written in Sharpie, grinning with pride. I remember the first time Ben asked me to just swing by if you have time, Mrs. Levinson, before I was even Ruth to him, before I was simply Mom. I remember the hours spent at the hardware store, arguing over doorknobs and paint colors, settling on something classic because Maggie didn't want to be bold. I remember holding a ladder steady as Ben hammered the new address numbers onto the porch. All these memories are sharp, brittle. They press at me as I reach my front door, fishing my own key from my coat pocket, a key that fits, smooth and familiar. The act feels different now, strangely momentous. Inside, my apartment is quiet, not silent. There is always a hum, a pulse, the soft tick of the kitchen clock, and the faint sound of a neighbor's TV through the wall. But it is the quiet of being alone, of a space holding only one person's secrets. I set the shopping bag on the counter, peel off my coat. The tulips go into the old blue vase from David's mother, water cold and clear, petals almost too bright for the shadowed kitchen. I wash the apples, line them up in a bowl, more for something to do than out of hunger. I sit by the window, sunlight falling in yellow stripes across the table. My hands are restless, folding and unfolding a napkin, brushing invisible crumbs. My mind ticks backward and forward, stubbornly replaying every word Maggie spoke that morning. It's not against you. A phrase meant to be soft, but which lands with a dull, heavy thud, like a door quietly shutting on a world I thought was still partly mine. I think about the lock, the door, the phrase. I turn it over in my mind the way you'd turn a coin, looking for a side you missed. I remember who paid the light bill last month. Me, with the online transfer I set up years ago. Who called the plumber last winter? Me again because Maggie couldn't take time off work. Who brings groceries? Who put her name next to mine on the deed so the house could be theirs, so the bank would agree to the loan? Me. The arithmetic is stark. Not resentful, just factual. The way balancing a checkbook is factual. I have kept my promises, filled the cracks, paid for small comforts. I did it out of love, yes, but also out of habit, out of a sense of my place in the machinery of their lives. And now, with a small, neat twist of a lock, I am out. I wonder how it happens, how you go from welcome anytime to text first, how a key, so small, becomes an artifact of another time. For a moment, I want to cry, but I do not. I was not raised for tears. My mother taught me to turn emotion into action, into motion, into something useful. But for now, I sit. I let the pause expand, slow and deep as dusk, and I feel the silence not as emptiness, but as possibility, a clearing in the overgrown garden of my life. In the quiet, my mind sharpens. I begin to count. The bills I pay, the deeds I hold, the small mechanisms by which I remain tethered to Maggie's life. I wonder, what would it mean to let go? For the first time in a long time, I do not rush to fix things, to soothe, to excuse. I let the hurt sit with me at the kitchen table. I let it breathe. Outside, the world moves on. Cars pass, children shout. Somewhere a dog barks. Life is indifferent to a mother's disappointment. I realize the only person who will tend to this particular ache is me. And as the sun shifts, a plan, not quite formed, begins to take root. No words, no decisions yet. Just the first necessary pause. A stillness that is not surrender, but gathering. I wake the next morning with the same ache in my chest, but something else has joined it. An unfamiliar steadiness. My life has always run on rails of habit. Monday is laundry, Tuesday is shopping, Friday is flowers for the table, Sunday is Maggie's house. Now there's an empty place on the tracks, and I am the only one who can decide what fills it. I make tea, set a slice of bread to toast, and sit at the kitchen table with my old ledger, the same green notebook where I've kept accounts since David and I got married. The pages are soft with use, ink smudged in places, numbers trailing down in neat columns. Here is where I see the record of my love, the bills paid, the gifts given, the loans forgiven, the checks written in birthdays and emergencies and holidays no one else remembers. I turn to the most recent entries. $134.19 for the electric bill, paid online, auto-deducted from my checking. $82.47 for the water, same system, internet, cable, trash, my name on every account. I check the date for the next round of auto payments, circling the numbers in red. I pause on the mortgage statement, a thick white envelope in a drawer, my name beside Maggie's and Ben's in black print. I remember the signing, the notary's tidy office, the pen with First Summit title, stamped in gold, the trembling of my hand that no one noticed. A small, pragmatic anger rises in me, not the kind that burns, but the kind that clears your head, sharpens your vision. The practical anger that built my life, that helped me survive David's cancer, my mother's slow forgetting, the years after Maggie left home, and the house seemed to sigh with loneliness. I finish my tea, dress in my best pantsuit, navy blue, bought for funerals and graduations, pressed last week just in case. I collect my documents, the deed, the mortgage, my power of attorney for myself, and, until now, for Maggie. I slip them into a folder, tuck my checkbook into my purse, and call for a cab. The notary's office is across town, in a brick building with gold lettering on the glass. The receptionist recognizes me from years ago. Mrs. Levinson, so nice to see you. How can we help today? I'd like to make some changes to a deed, I say, as calmly as if I were ordering lunch. The notary, a careful man with kind eyes and silver hair, remembers my story. He reviews the documents, checks my ID. Are you sure? He asks gently. I nod. I'm sure. I want to file a quit claim deed. I'm signing over my half. To them. He raises an eyebrow. You'll have no legal right to the property after this. You understand? I understand. The signing is quick, unceremonious. No one claps, no one weeps. I press pen to paper, my name flowing out of the record, a ghost walking out of her own story. The notary slides the documents into a folder, stamps them, gives me a copy for my records. Back in the cab, I watch the world pass. Grocery stores, playgrounds, the city library. I realize I am not sad, or at least the sadness is not sharp anymore. It is a dull, manageable thing, like a stone you carry for so long that it becomes the shape of your pocket. At home, I sit again with my ledger. I log into the utility accounts: electric, water, gas, internet, trash. It is all as simple as clicking a button: cancel auto pay, remove payment method, close account. A series of polite confirmation emails appear in my inbox. Each one is a door closing, softly but surely, on a chapter I once held open with my own hands. Then I turn to my will. For years it has been simple: everything to Maggie, my only child, my legacy, my last great purpose. But the world has changed, her world and mine. I search online for options, find a fund for elderly women, women like me, women who have been pressed to the edges of their families like leaves in a book no one reads anymore. I call the number listed on their website, speak to a woman named Carmen. She listens, does not ask for details, simply thanks me for thinking of them. I make arrangements to transfer my estate, what's left of David's savings, my pension, the apartment, my insurance. I ask for a clause for women whose families have made them strangers. I put down the phone, sign the forms Carmen emails over, print and mail them with shaking hands. My lawyer, a young woman with clever eyes, confirms the changes and sends me a new copy of my will. Everything is in order. Everything is out of my hands. The last thing I do is take Maggie's name off my emergency contact list at the doctor's office, the pharmacy, the building manager. I write my own number. If something happens, it will be the city who calls, not her. I do this quietly, with no anger, no ceremony, just a quiet, clean sweep of the record. By sunset, my apartment is filled with the light of things decided. I sit at the kitchen table, the blue vase full of yellow tulips, and breathe in the new, unfamiliar quiet. It is not revenge. It is not punishment. It is the last necessary act of love for myself. The days that follow feel hollowed out, as if a great familiar sound has stopped and left only its echo. My routines, built over years, even decades, are suddenly, strangely free of obligation. No more grocery lists scrawled with someone else's favorite snacks. No reminders to transfer money before the utility deadlines. No second guessing whether to add a little extra just in case. The world is smaller, but also lighter, as if the air itself has shifted. On Monday, I bake bread. The scent fills my apartment, warm and rich. I slice the first piece, spread butter while it's still steaming, and sit by the window to eat in silence. There is no one to share it with. No little hands reaching over the table, no text from Maggie. Any chance you could bring some for the kids this week? The phone stays silent, except for the predictable hum of robocalls and a reminder about my next doctor's appointment. I delete them all, unbothered. The next morning, I wake before dawn, my body still conditioned to fill the hours with usefulness. I pull out the patchwork quilt I've been meaning to finish for years, the squares made from Maggie's old dresses and David's shirts. The needle moves through fabric, steady, mechanical. I do not rush. There is no deadline now, no reason to finish other than the doing itself. Midweek, I venture to the market. The old clerk at the register remarks on how little I buy, just enough for one, sometimes two. He asks kindly, "How's your family?" "They're doing fine," I say, and nothing more. He nods, already on to the next customer. At home, I notice the small signs of my withdrawal. The hallway closet still holds gifts I bought for birthdays not yet celebrated: puzzles, scarves, a book about space for Ben's youngest. I leave them there, undisturbed. The stack of blank greeting cards remains untouched. No one will receive a handwritten note from me this month or next. My phone history is empty of outgoing calls, except to the bank, the notary, the lawyer. It is not dramatic, this disappearance. No slammed doors, no public scenes. I simply fade from the periphery of their lives. The reliable presence, the background support, the gentle reminder of care. No one calls to ask why the electricity bill hasn't been paid. Not at first. Maybe they don't notice, or maybe they assume I will fix it later. No one thanks me for the flowers that no longer appear on the table. No one texts to ask if I'm coming by Sunday morning, or to bring soup for a child's cold. I suspect Maggie and Ben have not noticed yet. Not really. Their days are crowded with school runs and meetings and after dinner exhaustion, the clamor of small needs and constant movement. But I feel the absence. I am the only one who could, because I am the one who made the space. I begin to notice things about myself, how my time expands, how my mind quiets. I read again for pleasure, the way I did before motherhood. I join a book group at the library, surprised to find laughter and argument and the sudden warmth of new faces. I start volunteering at the local thrift shop, sorting coats, chatting with women whose lives echo my own in quiet, unspoken ways. Every night, I review the day in my ledger, not as an account of money spent, but as a record of time and attention. I marvel at how much of my old life was measured in favors, in gifts, in careful silent giving. Now the entries are smaller but clearer. May 17th, baked bread, finished quilt square, called Carmen to check on fun paperwork. May 18th, read until midnight, donated winter coats, ate alone by choice. The world outside continues. The seasons turn, slow and sure. My hair is a little whiter in the mirror, my steps a touch more cautious, but there is a steadiness growing where worry used to live. I receive a letter from Carmen at the fund, thanking me again for my generosity. She includes a note from a woman named Eileen, who writes, "You reminded me I still matter." I press the letter into my ledger, grateful and surprised by how deeply it touches me. Maggie doesn't call. Not that week, nor the one after. I imagine her, busy and distracted, perhaps irritated at some new inconvenience, blaming the city or the weather or the company for small lapses in comfort. I wonder if she feels my absence at all, or if my leaving is just a quiet gap, soon to be filled by her own busy life. But I am no longer there to worry about it. I am no longer the invisible scaffolding propping up someone else's present. I do not write. I do not explain. I let the silence stand. I let myself be missing quietly for the first time in years. It's nearly a month before I hear from Maggie. 4 Sundays pass in muted procession. Each week, the ache grows softer until it is just another quiet presence in my apartment, like the tick of the clock or the hush before rain. I have grown used to being unseen. I fill my days with the slow, measured business of solitude, answering to no one, spending hours reading, walking, stitching memories into fabric and time. Then, on a Thursday evening, just as dusk slips between the buildings, my phone rings, the screen lights up with Maggie's name. My heart flutters, not with hope or dread, but with a kind of distant curiosity, as if I am watching someone else's life. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hello, Maggie." She sounds tired. I hear it in her voice before I hear the uncertainty. "Mom, hi. Are you all right?" "I'm fine, dear. How are you?" I keep my tone gentle, as if nothing has changed, as if I am just another old friend on her list of things to check off. There's a silence, just long enough for discomfort to settle in. Then she rushes on. "It's just, the electric bill came, and the internet, and, well, Ben said he thought you'd been paying them, but now they're late, and I just—" She stops, and I can hear her try to catch her breath. "Is something wrong?" "I canceled the payments," I say. The accounts were in my name, but they're your bills. I thought it was time for you and Ben to handle things yourselves. I hear Ben's voice in the background, sharp with annoyance. Just ask her, Maggie. It's not a big deal. Maggie hesitates. Mom, we didn't mean anything by the lock. We just wanted to keep the kids safe, that's all. You know that, right? It wasn't against you. The phrase again. It lands the same way, soft on the outside, heavy at its core. I let the silence stretch. I do not rush to fill it. I want her to sit with it, the way I have. Are you offended? She asks, her voice smaller. It's just a lock. I mean, you still have a key. It's just, well, a new one. If you'd asked, I would have given it to you. I feel a strange calm settle over me, a coolness that is not anger, but a final clarity. I speak slowly, choosing my words with the same care I once used in smoothing Maggie's hair before school, in folding her favorite pajamas, in all the quiet, loving acts she never noticed. Maggie, I say, I understand about the lock. I understand that sometimes people change things for themselves and forget to tell others. But I changed some things too. The bills are yours now. The house is yours, completely. I went to the notary. My name's no longer on the deed. There's a gasp, sharp and real, then muffled words as she covers the phone and whispers to Ben. He barks out something. Anger or shock, I can't tell. Why? Maggie's voice cracks. Mom, why would you do that? You didn't even talk to us. I close my eyes, see my old ledger, my quiet rooms, the emptiness that is no longer a wound but a choice. I suppose I just realized, Maggie, that sometimes when a door closes, it's for everyone. You changed your lock. I changed my code so that no one goes where they're not truly welcome. Silence floods the line. In it, I hear years of birthdays, of Sunday mornings, of errands run and casseroles made. I hear all the times I came quietly and all the times I left even more quietly. I hear my own heart, steady and unhurried for the first time in years. Maggie tries again, her voice quavering. So that's it? You're just leaving? I shake my head, though she can't see. Not leaving, dear. Just choosing a different door, one that belongs to me. She is crying now, or near to it, but I feel only a small, distant ache. There is nothing left to say, nothing that would bridge this quiet, necessary distance. I let the silence stretch once more until she hangs up. Afterward, I make myself tea, hands steady, movement slow and sure. I sit by the window, watching the last gold light fade across the city. I think of all the doors in my life, the ones I opened for others, the ones I closed behind myself, the ones I never dared touch until now. For the first time in decades, the only code I have to remember is my own. That night, I sleep with the window cracked open to the early summer breeze. The apartment feels full, not with people or noise, but with a stillness I have finally claimed for myself. For the first time, I am not bracing for someone else's disappointment. I am not waiting for the next demand. I am simply present, alone, intact. Somewhere, a drawer stands empty. Somewhere, a key sits unused. Somewhere, Maggie and Ben are learning what it means to have a house with no scaffolding, no silent support. And here, in the hush of my own making, I am learning too. In the weeks that follow, life settles into its new, altered rhythm. At first, I am hyper-aware of the absence. Each unshared meal, every day that passes without a phone call or a visit. The silence is vast. I keep expecting the old habits to pull me back, the urge to reach out, to fix, to rescue. But the feeling fades, slowly, like a bruise healing beneath the skin. I wake now when I please. There is no one to account for my time, no one's needs pushing mine to the corners. The first cup of tea in the morning is for me alone. hot and strong, sipped at my window while the city stirs. I read the news, flip through old photo albums, some of Maggie, some of David, some of a younger woman I barely remember being. I let myself linger with those memories, not as regrets, but as small confirmations. I was here, I loved, I made a home. Some afternoons, I take the bus to the library or the art museum. I go slowly, stopping when I please, sitting longer in the places that catch my eye. I start a notebook of observations, tiny, ordinary beauties I once overlooked. The sunlight curling through dust motes on the library table, the feel of linen napkins at the cafe, the sharp sweetness of berries eaten in the park, the low laughter of other women at my book group. I make new friends, not many, but enough. There's Eleanor, who volunteers at the animal shelter and brings stories about stubborn old dogs and clever kittens. There's Ms. Green, a retired nurse with a voice like velvet and opinions sharper than most knives. There's even Harold, who brings flowers from his garden to the thrift shop and asks if I've seen the newest exhibit at the museum. We talk easily, without history or obligation, just the simple pleasure of two people meeting in the present. I still keep my old ledger, though the entries have changed. Instead of bills paid for someone else, I jot down the ways I tend to myself. June 2nd, bought new walking shoes. Walked by the river, no hurry. June 7th, joined painting class. My hands still remember how to shape beauty. June 10th, gave donation to Eileen's fund. Wrote a letter to a woman in need. There are moments, usually in the deep velvet hours of the night, when I wonder about Maggie. I picture her in that house, now fully hers, perhaps still adjusting to the shift. I imagine her standing in the kitchen, searching for a certain brand of olive oil, a favorite mug, or the vase I always kept filled with flowers. Maybe she wonders why the bills haven't resolved themselves, why there is no one to fill the empty places with quiet help. Maybe she thinks of me, or maybe she is too busy, too harried, too young to notice the absence of scaffolding until something breaks. Ben does not call. I did not expect he would. I imagine he is irritated, frustrated at having to call the bank, the cable company, the plumber himself. The world is not as seamless as it once was. Sometimes I see Maggie's children, my grandchildren, at the park or in the store, a flash of familiar faces darting between shelves or climbing the jungle gym. I smile and wave, but do not approach unless they come to me. I want them to know I am here, not as a duty or an obligation, but as a person in my own right, a presence, not a utility. Summer turns, slow and golden, into autumn. The air sharpens, the days grow shorter. I buy myself a new coat, splurge on a scarf in a bright, wild color I never would have chosen before. I hang it by my door, the only door I have a key to now, and every time I reach for it, I feel a small rush of pride. I begin writing letters to myself, notes of encouragement, gratitude, forgiveness. I leave them tucked into my ledger between pages of recipes and old shopping lists so that on dark days I can find them and remember. I made this space. I filled it with my own company, my own kindness. Occasionally, there are reminders of the old life, a bill forwarded in error, a neighbor asking if I'm still helping out over there, a memory surfacing as I fold laundry or dust a shelf. These pangs are gentle now, bittersweet but not overwhelming. I let them come and go, just as I let Maggie and Ben go, without fuss or explanation. Sometimes I wonder if Maggie will call again. Maybe she will one day, when the quiet in her house grows too loud to ignore. Maybe she will come to my door, hesitating on the threshold, unsure if she's still welcome. And maybe I will let her in, or maybe not. That choice, too, is mine. But now, at 75, I am finally clear. The only door I must answer to is my own. The only memory I must keep is my own. I keep the key on a simple ring by my bedside. I keep my bank card in my purse, my will in the safe, my stories in my ledger. And when I pass by Maggie's house on my way to the market, I glance at the blue door, the new lock, the hedge I helped plant, and I feel nothing but a gentle, clean release. They have the house, the door, the empty drawer where my deposit was once kept. I have my apartment, my autonomy, and my memory, clear, unclouded, my own. For the first time, I do not sponsor someone else's present. For the first time, I am not locked out of my own life, and in the stillness that follows, I finally, quietly arrive.